The motion fails. Now let me begin. I'd like to welcome everyone who is here in the hearing room today and who's watching the hearing online. For the purpose of this hearing, we are accepting witness testimony in person, and we are also accepting written testimony through the legislature's position letter portal or through the committee's redistricting public comment portal. Both of these portals can be accessed through the committee's website at aelc.assembly.ca.gov.
What's up, America First family? Welcome back to the channel where we put America first. Always. If this is your first time here, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe because we're bringing you the truth that the mainstream media won't tell you. Ring that notification bell too so you never miss our content. Today, we're reacting to this absolutely outrageous redistricting hearing from California. And folks, what I'm about to show you is going to make your blood boil.
Today's hearing is going to be a little different than the typical Assembly Elections Committee bill hearing, so I want to set the stage for what to expect. The committee is hearing two measures today, ACA 8, related to congressional redistricting, and SB 280, related to election administration and funding. As with a normal bill hearing, those items will be up for a vote in committee today. In addition to voting on those two bills, the committee will also be holding an informational hearing on the subject matter of AB 604 related to proposed congressional districts. I expect that the committee will begin by discussing and voting on ACA 8. After the committee has dispensed with ACA 8 in order to make the best use of the time of the committee and of the members of the public who are here in the hearing room or who are watching this hearing online, the order in which the committee hears the other two bills may depend on the availability of the bill authors to come present in the committee. If the committee hears AB 604 before SB 280, for procedural reasons, the committee will be recessing the bill hearing and proceeding to the informational hearing on AB 604. The committee would then reconvene the bill hearing after completing the informational hearing on AB 604. If that occurs, I will make an appropriate announcement at that time. When we hear the bills on the agenda, including the informational hearing on AB 604, we will hear from a maximum of two primary witnesses in support and two primary witnesses in opposition to the bill, with a limit of 3 minutes per witness. As a reminder, primary witnesses in support are those designated by the author. To provide additional opportunity for public input, we will allow other witnesses to speak for no more than 30 seconds. In order to permit as many people as possible to testify, I will enforce that time limit strictly. My 27 years as Santa Cruz County's chief elections official is what I carried into these conversations about mid-decade redistricting. And let me be clear. What we are building in California is the most transparent process in the nation. For example, we've launched a public redistricting comment portal right on the committee's website so voters can speak directly to this process. Since Wednesday, it's received more than 16,000 submissions.
Madam Chair.
We aren't asking Californians
I have a motion based on that information.
It would be nice if the vice chair wouldn't interrupt the chair while she's speaking.
It's relevant to what she's saying.
It would be nice if the vice chair would let the chair finish her comments.
May I finish my comments?
Will I be able to make my motion?
Yes, may I finish my comments? Thank you. We aren't asking Californians to rubber stamp maps drawn behind closed doors. We're putting the maps front and center and giving voters the final say. This is not about cherry picking when we follow our independent redistricting process. As a former elections official, I would never stand for that. It would go counter to my core values and my life's work. This is about defending democracy itself, making sure the checks and balances our kids learn in government class are alive and well after the 2026 elections. Let's be honest, Donald Trump lit this fire when he pressured Texas to change the rules mid-game. California is answering that attack. Not by breaking democracy, but by protecting it. The bills we are hearing today only take effect if another state rigs the election maps. California believes in independent redistricting. We want every state to adopt it. And our Independent Redistricting Commission retains its authority to draw the maps in 2020 and beyond. I understand this is a fast process, but we are focusing on transparency and ensuring voters have the final say on whether to enact temporary adjustments to our congressional districts. Our democracy is under attack, and we simply do not have the ability to delay action so our county elections officials can administer a secure, transparent, accurate, and accessible election. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about partisanship. It's about principle. It's about trust. And it's about making sure every voter knows their voice still matters in America. We will seek to protect the rights of all who participate in this legislative process so that we can have effective deliberation and decisions on critical issues facing California. In order to facilitate the committee's business and public participation in today's hearing, we will not permit conduct that disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of legislative proceedings. Violations of these rules may subject you to removal or other enforcement action. So before we move on to the agenda, I have an additional announcement to make. I have a letter from Speaker Rivas requesting that Assemblymember Berman be permitted to present ACA 8 on his behalf. So with those announcements out of the way, we will now move on to the committee's agenda. And Madam Vice Chair, you had a comment.
Yes, I am motioning, as you said, 16,000 comments were submitted. I have not seen those comments. I'm not sure if other members of the committee have seen those comments, but those would be pertinent to the discussion that's here today. So I either motion that those comments be read into the record for all of us to hear, or that we recess until a time that we can review those comments.
Second.
So the comments are part of the bill file, and I did not hear a motion. Are you making a motion?
I'm motioning to read those comments into the record here today.
Okay, we'll take up that motion. It will be a majority of those present and voting. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Pellerin?
No.
Pellerin, no. Macedo?
Aye.
Macedo, aye. Bennett?
No.
Bennett, no. Berman?
No.
Berman, no. Salache?
No.
Salache, no. Stephanie?
No.
Stephanie, no. Tongipa?
Aye.
Tongipa, aye.
Motion fails.
Then I make another motion to recess until every member of this committee has time to review all 16,000 public comments.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to recess until they could read the comments. And Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Pellerin?
No.
Pellerin, no. Macedo?
Aye.
Macedo, aye. Bennett?
No.
Bennett, no. Berman?
Nope.
Berman, no. Salache?
No.
Salache, no. Stephanie?
No.
Stephanie, no. Tongipa?
Aye.
Tongipa, aye.
Motion.
Sounds transparent.
Motion
to me.
fails 2-5. We're now going to get on to our hearing, and let's bring Assemblymember Berman up to the presentation table to present ACA 8. You may begin when you're ready. It's the regular business of the committee to allow members to ask another member to present their bill. So we will begin with Assemblymember Berman presenting ACA 8. You may begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair and colleagues. Good morning. I'm pleased to present ACA 8 on behalf of Speaker Rivas, Pro Tem McGuire, and dozens of co-authors, both here in the Assembly and in the Senate. But make no mistake, I'm not happy to be here. One of the reasons was alluded to, which I'm a new dad. My baby boy turned 1 month old today, and I'd rather be hanging out with him and his mom. But ACA 8 and its companion bills are the culmination of a fight that we don't want. And it's a fight that we didn't choose. But with our democracy on the line, we cannot run away from this fight. ACA 8 is before you today because President Trump and Republicans in Texas and other states across the country are attempting to redraw congressional districts mid-decade in an effort to rig the upcoming election. Americans and Californians deserve better, and ACA 8 is our response to this undemocratic and un-American power grab. Known as the Election Rigging Response Act, ACA 8 would allow for the temporary use of voter-approved congressional district boundaries contained in AB 604. First and foremost, California voters will have the final say on whether or not these new district boundaries get used or not. Should ACA 8 and its companion bills pass, voters will have their say in a special election on November 4th, 2025. Because here in California, unlike in Texas and other Republican-led states, we respect the will of the voters. Second, these maps would be used through the 2030 congressional term if and only if Texas or another state enacts a partisan gerrymander of its own congressional districts before the 2030 census. This trigger provision is carefully crafted to ensure that a mid-decade redistricting required by federal court order does not result in California changing the maps. It is about the partisan gerrymandering that President Trump has demanded of his party. After the 2030 census, ACA 8 returns all congressional district line drawing powers back to the Citizen Redistricting Commission. It is important to note that nothing in this bill package impacts the role of the Citizens Redistricting Commission in drawing the Assembly, the Senate, or the Board of Equalization boundaries. Third, ACA 8 calls on Congress to pass legislation and propose a constitutional amendment to the U.S. Constitution to require the use of fair, independent, and nonpartisan redistricting nationwide. I call this the put up or shut up clause. I don't want to hear from you if you support political gerrymandering in Republican states, but not Democrat states, and vice versa. We believe in nonpartisan redistricting for California and for every state in the country. The bottom line is that ACA 8 sends a strong message to other states that they cannot play by different rules when it comes to redistricting. And it upholds California's values by neutralizing partisan gerrymandering by other states, all while giving California voters the final say on the matter. This situation is an emergency, and California is responding by empowering our voters with transparency, with respect for our independent commission, but with a will to act. I respectfully request an aye vote on ACA 8, and I'm joined today by Annie Chow with the California Teachers Association and Danny Curtin with the California State Council of Carpenters.
You each have 3 minutes. Thank you.
So I just watched this video of California Democrats and Republicans squaring off in what they're calling a redistricting hearing. But what I saw was nothing short of a coordinated attack on American democracy. Let me break down what's really happening here, because the media is spinning this like it's some kind of normal political process. Governor Newsom and his Democratic cronies have just approved a redistricting plan that would essentially eliminate 5 Republican congressional seats and hand them over to the Democrats on a silver platter. We're talking about targeting Representatives Doug LaMalfa, Kevin Kiley, David Valadao, Ken Calvert, and Darrell Issa. These are representatives who were legitimately elected by their constituents. And now California Democrats want to just redraw the lines to make their seats unwinnable. This isn't redistricting. Folks, this is gerrymandering at its absolute worst. And here's the kicker that really gets me fired up. California Democrats are justifying this power grab by saying they need to fight fire with fire because Republicans did redistricting in Texas. So their answer to what they claim is unfair redistricting is to do exactly the same thing, but somehow it's okay when they do it. Let me tell you what this is really about. The Democrats currently hold 43 out of California's 52 congressional seats. Republicans only have 9 seats in the entire state of California. 9 seats. And apparently that's still too many for these power-hungry Democrats. They won't be satisfied until they have complete and total control. What really exposes their hypocrisy is that many of these same Democrats previously supported independent redistricting when it benefited them politically. The California voters themselves support independent redistricting by a 2-to-1 margin, but now that it's inconvenient for their power grab, they're abandoning that principle faster than you can say election integrity. This redistricting scheme is being designed specifically to help Democrats potentially regain control of the House in the 2026 midterms. They're not even hiding it anymore. They're openly admitting that this is about gaining political power, not about fair representation for people of California. And let's talk about what this means for the rest of America. California has 52 congressional seats. That's more than many entire regions of the country combined. When California Democrats manipulate their districts like this, it doesn't just affect California voters. It affects the entire balance of power in Congress. It affects every single American's representation in Washington. The Republicans in that hearing were absolutely right to push back hard against this. This is exactly the kind of partisan manipulation that's destroying faith in our electoral system. When politicians get to choose their voters instead of voters choosing their politicians, we don't have a democracy anymore, we have an oligarchy. Here's what really gets me about this whole situation. These are the same people who spent 4 years screaming about election integrity and democratic norms when Trump was in office. They lecture us constantly about respecting institutions and following proper procedures. But the moment it's convenient for them to abandon those principles for raw political power, they do it without hesitation. The California Democratic Party has become so radical, so power-hungry, that they're willing to disenfranchise millions of California voters just to gain a few more seats in Congress. They're essentially telling Republican voters in those 5 districts that their voices don't matter, that their representation can just be erased with the stroke of a pen. And make no mistake, this is just the beginning. If they get away with this in California, every blue state in the country is going to start doing the same thing. We're going to see a race to the bottom where both parties just redraw districts whenever they have power, and the American people are going to be the ones who suffer. What California needs is real leadership that puts the interests of all Californians first, not just the Democratic Party elite. They need leaders who will stand up for fair representation, not partisan power grabs. They need leaders who will respect the will of the voters instead of trying to manipulate the system to guarantee their own political survival. The good news is that this plan still has to go before California voters for approval. That means we still have a chance to stop this power grab, but it's going to take all of us speaking up and making our voices heard. California voters need to see this for what it really is, not reform, but corruption, not progress, but a step backward for American democracy. This is exactly why we need to keep fighting for election integrity, for fair representation, and for putting America first in everything we do. The political establishment, whether it's in California or Washington, D.C., will do whatever it takes to maintain their power, even if it means trampling on the rights and voices of ordinary Americans. So, what do you think about this California redistricting scheme? Are you as outraged as I am? Let me know in the comments below. And remember, if you believe in putting America first, make sure you're subscribed to this channel and sharing our content with everyone you know. We're going to keep exposing the truth no matter how uncomfortable it makes the political establishment. Thanks for watching America First. And remember, we're not just fighting for conservative values. We're fighting for the very soul of our republic. Until next time, keep America first.